How's it going, everyone? This is another rendition of... Well, is it a rendition? I don't know what it is. It's not really a rendition, now that I say it. This is another episode of 5 Things of Interest. Now, if you guys don't know what 5 Things of Interest is, this is a show I started, a couple months back now, when we talked about just 5 topics that I could talk about, or I wanted to talk about, that I thought I couldn't fit into their own episode or their own video, so I mushed all 5 of them together and made 5 Things of Interest. And we got some good stuff to talk about today. I'm not gonna lie, this is a really fun episode. There's a lot of stuff that I am personally connected to in this one that I'm very excited to talk about, so let's just jump into it. You guys, you ready? I know you're ready. Or are you? You're gonna be. Boom, chakalaka. So, topic number 1. And I will put a time code in the description if there's a certain topic you want me to talk about, or a certain topic I am talking about that you don't want to hear the other ones, so we'll just go through those really fast. So the first topic I want to talk about is Taika Waititi is doing stuff on Netflix involving Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Now, I can't remember the specifics of what this one was. I think he was doing an animated rendition of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That's a TV show, and then another prequel involving the Oompa Loompas, which I like this idea. This is a great person to get to do something as zany and creative as Roald Dahl, so I think it could work really well. Is Taika gonna be Willy Wonka? I could definitely see that, and I would really hope so that he would be. He's got that kind of calming, zany presence that I think a Willy Wonka should have. Now, I was running this idea through my head, and I was like, well, who would I get to play a live-action Willy Wonka? So I think I'm going to do a separate video on who should play a live-action Willy Wonka, but if you're going to do an animated Willy Wonka, I'm definitely okay with it being Taika Waititi. I think that's a pretty interesting concept. He definitely has the right material to do it. If you look at Jojo Rabbit, if you look at What We Do in the Shadows, he definitely knows how to handle that kind of not subject matter, but that kind of material with a certain brevity that's a little above some other comedians that would handle it that way. So I'm definitely on board with that kind of rendition. And an Oompa Loompa prequel, I mean, say what you will, it's a dumb idea, but if anyone can make it work, it's probably Taika Waititi. I mean, it's Oompa Loompas. Who wants to see an Oompa Loompa prequel? That's such a dumb idea, but I guess if Minions are successful, why wouldn't small slaved pygmy men be successful in the same vein as a Minion? Is that a negative thing to say? I don't know, but it just won't... It's just the Oompa Loompas. Who cares, right? I mean, maybe kids care, but every adult watched that movie for Gene Wilder or Johnny Depp, depending on how old you are. I, for one, think Gene Wilder is one of the best actors to ever live, and I could probably do a separate video just talking about my favorite Gene Wilder movies. You can check out my most recent Assorting My Collection video where I go over Young Frankenstein a bit, so that's kind of fun. And the second thing I'm talking about today with you guys, that is HBO has confirmed they are doing an original series based on The Last of Us. And if you don't know what The Last of Us is, it's PlayStation. Is it PlayStation exclusive? I don't own a console, so I don't know. I think it's exclusive to PlayStation because it's Naughty Dog. That sounds right. And The Last of Us is kind of like a Walking Dead-esque. Well, saying that is not going to do it justice, according to some people. But you got your lead character who's trying to save this little girl who's special from like a plague that's wiped out humanity. If I'm not mistaken, it's one of those kind of stories. So you get a big budget from something like HBO. I think it could really work. I can see this being a mix of something like The Walking Dead alongside The Witcher, where you're getting some great prosthetic and makeup stuff with a great cast of characters that you're going to love. And depending on who they cast as the lead, I think is really going to see where this thing goes. But what really sold me on this project, Chernobyl guys are doing it. Now, I can't remember their names, but the guys who made Chernobyl, which is one of the best shows that HBO has done, I think, since something like the earlier seasons of Game of Thrones, since a lot of their earlier stuff, but this was just a beautiful show and I loved every second of Chernobyl. So this kind of show that's about the aftermath of a big event like that, I could think they could definitely pull it off, do some great cinematic stuff in there and make it look really cool. So I'm very much excited for what that project can be. And again, The Last of Us has its cult following. There's a lot of people who love that story and love what that story could be. So I'm just excited to see what that is. And HBO, I mean, you lost Game of Thrones, you kind of fell off at the end there, so you get a project like this that's already got another built-in audience, you're getting a couple more people happy, and you're going to keep a couple more people wanting to keep their HBO subscription until HBO Max comes around and you screw everything over with a Friends revival, because that's exactly what you shouldn't do. But I digress. So the third thing I want to talk about is, this is kind of a little bit more of a home thing, being a Canadian, and that is the Kids in the Hall revival coming to Amazon. You know, it's easily blown under the radar because it's not as big as some of those other skit shows that have, you know, come out recently or that were around at the same time. The cast isn't as popular or as prominent, but if you are Canadian, you know who Kids in the Hall are. If you are a fan of skit comedy, you know who Kids in the Hall are. And Amazon is a great place to do this kind of show, because I don't think they have they done a reboot of a classic show? Like bringing back the original cast? I can't think of one they did. I know they have the return of Will and Grace, but that's not because they produced it, so I can't think of any off the top of my head that Amazon brought back. But Kids in the Hall is a great place to start. You're going to get a lot of people interested in something like this when you're doing Kids in the Hall, so that's really fun. I mean, it's just a cool little idea that I didn't know I wanted or that I needed, because sketch comedy is kind of coming back. You look at some of the stuff that SNL has done. You look at some of those, I Think You Should Leave. Was it I Think You Should Leave? I don't remember anymore. But, or even Medical Police, which is kind of successful. That kind of comedy's coming back, so something like Kids in the Hall could really work, and Amazon getting a staple like that, it's actually really cool, so that really excites me. I don't really got much else to say on that one, except check out Kids in the Hall, it's pretty fun. Fourth item number 4 of things of interest, and I have said to you guys before on this channel, I'm a fan of Penny Dreadful. I have loved the show for a long time. I've been a huge supporter of it. I've admired a lot of the choices they've made, and I've always been intrigued by whatever the creator was going to do next. And he's doing a continuation, kind of Penny Dreadful. It's the namesake, at least, and some of the actors are back playing different roles, which I'm okay with. But we got the second trailer to drop recently, and the first trailer I was intrigued by because it's LA in the 30s. That's like a prominent era of LA, and there's a lot of shit going on in LA in that time. And you got this kind of like Mexican murderers paying people up or whatever's going on there, and that's pretty cool. Like, it's an interesting concept, but this trailer really sold me on what this show is going to be, and it's going to be a detective show, which I think is a big departure for Penny Dreadful, especially when you got something like that show that's focused on like the Frankenstein, the Dorian Gray stuff, the dark and gritty underbelly of a Victorian era time, but jumping to a 1930s Los Angeles about a private eye detective. It intrigues me. I like what I'm seeing. It doesn't feel like the Penny Dreadful I know, and maybe that's the point, and we could see something cool coming from that, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel like Penny Dreadful. Nathan Lane's like a cop detective looking guy, so that's kind of interesting. I didn't expect to see him in that kind of role. And I guess our lead is going to be this guy who is torn between helping his fellow, Mexican family and people of his ethnicity and being a good cop, because there's a line in there like, are you a Mexican or a cop first, or are you a cop or a Mexican first? It's like, it's intriguing and it's getting me interested. But there's the one character that we kind of saw a bit of that actually has me wanting to see what's coming down the line, and that is Natalie Dormer. And again, bringing it back full circle to Game of Thrones, I'm liking Natalie Dormer in this. She is looking like she's going to be in a bunch of different eras. Maybe she's the connection. She could be a witch or something like that, but she seems like the powerful character to look out for, and the one that a lot of people are going to like. She's their Ava Green, right? She's going to be that character that's going to be associated with this story for City of Angels, for this version of Penny Dreadful, and I'm very excited to see what that's going to look like. Again, Penny Dreadful, check out the first 3 seasons of Penny Dreadful. You got a great cast: Ava Green, Josh Hartnett, Timothy Dalton, amongst others, and it's just a fun story with characters you know from literature. in a very mature and dark setting that I don't think a lot of people were expecting it to be as intense and riveting as it turned out to be. So it kind of fell under the radar and nobody watched it because it came out in that era of, Westworld was dropping, Game of Thrones was dropping, all these big shows that were being hyped up, and Penny Dreadful just kind of slowly went under the radar and nobody talked about. But it is well worth the watch, and I recommend it to everybody because it's just so fun, and it's top 5 shows for me ever. Like, it's just up there with one of those things that I absolutely love, and I'm happy it existed because I got to watch something really cool. And article number 5, and I say article, it's not an article, but interest number 5. This was kind of something that kind of just broke on Twitter and then took off. Sean Murphy, who wrote the White Knight books, Curse of the White Knight, and then just the basic White Knight book. It's the Batman story where Joker comes back because Jack Napier and he wants to fix Gotham City. There's a bunch of stuff going on in them right now. Azrael's going on in it right now. There's just a bunch of stuff, right? And it is what it is. He kind of announced, and at first I thought it was a joke, and I'm still not positive if it's like 100% accurate. A lot of news sources picked it up. I know Sal on Comic Pop talked about it too. Is they are doing a whole label based off White Knight, where there's going to be a bunch of books coming out in that universe, and he kind of called it the Murphyverse, which, it's not the actual name, but it's going to be the White Knight verse. We're going to have a lot of different books coming out of that, and I think that's kind of cool. You kind of tapped on a lot of big stuff there already, so I don't know what else you're going to really do that's different. I mean, I think he kind of teased a Catwoman book, a Nightwing book, and a Batgirl book, but you want to do a White Knight book like that? What's maybe span out to other characters? What is Superman doing? What is the Justice League look like? Where's Aquaman? What are people in space up to? Because the ramifications of the Joker being the way he is, and I haven't read all of the White Knight. It was a book that I thought looked great and it was very intriguing, but I'd never fully bought it or read it all, which now I think I might have to because I'm very invested in this, especially if 5G is going the way it sounds like it's going. And you can check out my video talking about Dick and Babs the Married Years, which if you want my idea for a 5G book. But no, this is a really cool idea, and I think it just goes to show you that DC is willing to take more risks than Marvel is, even if it's stuff like this that's not in main continuity. Which it's kind of sad to say that at DC, the books that aren't in main continuity are getting more people excited than the actual books in continuity, which kind of sucks. Because you want your staples to be popular, but they're really not right now. I think Tynan kind of picked up Batman, but nothing else is really great. And I don't even like Tynan's Batman that much. It's pretty basic so far. But that's going to end soon, so it doesn't matter. But no, a White Knight label, that's kind of cool. Is it going to still be a black label, a white black label, a White Knight black label? That could be fun. I guess we'll have to see what happens there. It could be really cool. But if not, whatever. These are just things that are happening. So that is going to do it for this rendition of 5 Things of Interest. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have something to say about what I said, put it in the comments. And if you want to support me in other projects I'm doing, you can like me and follow me on Patreon. It really helps the channel and it helps me know I'm doing something fun here. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode and I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good time, and if you don't, then I can't stop you there. So later, guys. Tsunami Studios.